Hello, and welcome to my review of the season finale of um, Once Upon a Time Season 4, entitled Operation Mongoose Parts 1 and 2, in which, oh boy, do I have a lot to say about this. Where to begin? Where? All right, well, let us begin with Isaac and the fact that he is of my people, which is really weird considering the fact that Adam and Eddie are also of my people, Jews, that is. And, well, let's say that I was surprised they didn't just throw him into the thorns there because, there's when he got into the enchanted forest, because there's a grim fairy tale called the Jew and the Thorns, in which the Jew is the bad guy. In which this brings up to me the fact that um, it's very anti-Semitic, which is surprising that it was written by two Jews. But we see it's December 1966, and Isaac Heller, who is selling television sets in New York City, I presume, because he said Gimbel's is next door, and anyone who knows the history of New York knows that Gimbel's was Macy's competition until they closed in 1981. I don't know why they folded, except they ran out of business. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but that's beyond the point. The Apprentice um, says that the last of their authors just died. Now, it is December 1966, and a certain founder of a certain company involving children and stories um, came up with, that person died. Oh, what was his name? Oh, yes, Walter Disney. And they could have, said, we tried giving it to his brother, but his brother didn't want it. But that's nitpicking. And Isaac is told to choose a pen, and here's where we have our first indications of they're ripping off Harry Potter, as the wand chooses the wizard, and Isaac is then taken to the what do we call it? The Enchanted Forest, following uh, the apprentice through the door. We next see that it's back in our time, in our land, and Henry, much as Regina predicted in the end of season 2, uh, is the only one around because he was born here. Of course, Neil Nolan was born here, and for some reason in the storybook, he's now Belle's son. So, uh, or at least Belle has a kid, and we all presume it's the baby is Neil Nolan because it's all changed up. But I'll get to that in shortly. What I am talking about is after Henry borrows or steals a car. By the way, lady, he's not a runaway. A runaway is running away from his family, not looking for his family. Oh, he sees that Isaac is a publisher, is a writer of a book called Heroes and Villains, in which everything is turned upside down. Um, Regina is now Snow White, or in Snow White's place, having caused the death of of Snow's fiance James, and she just uses charming the way Regina used Graham. Search, destroy, and on occasion for sex. Um, which would be, which I can see in this trend around. What I cannot see is that Regina says that she was a child. Now, how can Regina be younger than Snow in this situation? I don't get it. That part bugs me, but it's a nitpick, and we see. Um, well, the first thing we see is actually that Henry confronts the author at one of his signing things, which I'm not sure if it's in New York or if it's in Portland, Maine, or if it's in another New England town. But he goes to confront him, and he gets caught up in the book, and then has to track down Regina. And when he does so, it's basically a reverse of the first scene in the pilot of episode of the pilot series. Is your name Emma Swan? Yep. Did you have a kid 10 years ago? Yep. I'm him. I need your help. And it's basically the reversal of that, including her saying, "What a stupid name, Operation Mongoose. You came up with it. Now they could have added. You called it that because it actually kind of takes over and devours my original plan, which I had at 10 years old, called Operation Cobra, and but she's not buying it. She's not interested in her son. She doesn't acknowledge him as her son. She is on her way out of here, and he says, "I've got to get you to Robin Hood," which she says is her main competition, and that she has never met him, let alone fallen in love with him. By the way, Rumpelstiltskin is a knight, and Isaac forgot about the Ogre Slayer, which is kind of funny because he wrote the book and also kind of very creative since uh, Rumpel's whole thing was he didn't want to go to fight in the Ogre's War. He's now the Ogre Slayer with a young child. Now, Balefire slash Neil is not in this. The author cannot bring him back to life. And herein lies part of my problem. Now, I am a Swanfire guy. I've never liked Captain Hook and Emma together. First, I don't. First, I don't see why she would have anything to do with him. Second, he's her previous significant other's parent significant other. I mean, he can claim that he can tell Henry that, hey, I slept with your mom and your grandma. And I keep thinking to myself, Regina Bell, Mary Margaret, don't be left alone with this man because I'm pretty sure he's going to want to, complete the set. But that's just me. Now, um, uh, Isaac is captured by the seven dwarves of evil and taken to Queen uh, Snow White. And I have to say, Who was the fool who put Jennifer Goodwin in a Queen Victoria, Queen Elizabeth I kind of outfit? It works with Regina. It doesn't work with Ginny. I'm sorry, Miss Goodwin. I don't know who piled that in there. I don't know. I just want to tell you it didn't work. So they set up a trap for Regina, and then Robin Hood comes in and he saves the day. And he rescues her and he takes her to a pub, and here is, and he bandages her wound, which is just like uh, what Hook did with Emma in season 2, apparently driving me up the wall even further. And but then again, not as up the wall is when she find is when Regina finds out that Robin Hood is actually getting married later this day to, of all people, Zelina. Now, I didn't see uh, Roland there. Maybe he was just cut out because he's 4 or 5 years old, and labor laws. But because you'd think if he were alive, he'd be at the wedding. Because Will Scarlet was there as the best man. Oh, and we will continue on. But to stop this wedding, um, they need the savior, who Isaac has told them doesn't exist, but Regina knows where Emma is actually hiding as her thing in this curse, because she was born there, just not didn't stay there too long, unlike Henry. Um, we have um, uh, Emma locked in a castle, totally out there, as other people have said, Fiona style from Shrek, except of course she doesn't turn green at all. But she's chained, she's locked up, and it's on an island. So Henry goes to get a Hook, who he thinks is a captain. And this is where we get into my first thing of screwing over Balefire, even after he is dead. Because after taking the Jolly Roger, the two of them, by the way, how can two people, I'm still confused on how two people can, man th- this boat from Blackbeard, because Hook is a deckhand, a cowardly deckhand, cannot cannot stand up to himself, and I'm like, thank you, please keep him this way. But they're not going to keep him this way because I'm not their target audience. Their target audience is 15 to 40-year-old women, and apparently they like the hunky Colin Donahue hooked up with Emma. But Henry says that Hook taught him how to sail. Now, it was established in season 2, they actually said this on the show, that his father, by the way, over here, taught him how to sail. So this is the first thing of him getting screwed over, we will return to Neil and Swanfire fans getting screwed over again, even after his death another time. But they get to the island prison where Lily is standing guard. They think, oh, it's just one guard. This is just going to be easy. They pull the Star Wars uh, Wookiee capture trick, which, and I'm not sure if this was uh, inspired by the fact that the alias used in season three's uh, finale for Emma was Princess Leia, but it works. They do uh, save the princess, and uh, and Lily is knocked out after them doing the whole Wookiee thing in Episode 4, New Hope, or when Leia does the same thing in Return of the Jedi. But they get on the boat, start sailing. Lily is flying in because she's, remember, a dragon. Uh, they get to Lance. Eventually, Lily tracks down Snow and Charming, and this is while Emma is weirdly looking into Hook's eyes and teaching him how to fight again. And they drop the Jack Sparrow line, which was cute, but brings this question up: is Jack Sparrow Killian Jones's dad? But that's a topic for another time. Now, um, uh, Charming kills Killian, or we think he kills Killian because he kills him in the book here, and we see him die. And I will come back to this uh, later. Emma is so distraught that she never told this man that she loved him, even though the last guy she told she loved him when he was right about to die. She was then making out with the new guy, Hook, in under a week. I kid you not. That's episode 5 of season 3. They've been there no more than a week on the island, and she thinks at this time Neil is dead. So I don't know about true love here anyway. I'm just pointing things out. Um, any which how, um, they find Regina, and Regina is on her way to get out, but Emma convinces her to go see Robin one last time to try and talk him out of this wedding. But in between, Isaac has talked to Rumpelstiltskin, who, and basically he says to him, you want this life with your lovely wife here, who you're not separated from, you have a new child with you. Remember how your first child died, that you tried to save him instead of uh, what actually happened, which was he brought you back to life. Which is, now that I think about it, he did originally die saving him, and Neil didn't just bring him. When Neil brought him uh, back to life, not knowing that it would cost him his own. Silly Zelina, you should mention things like what the price was. Don't tell me it was a sin of omission. No, 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 no. if there was a price, you needed to tell him, and he dies, and I still haven't gotten over that, but we move on. We must move on. Because they get to the church, and Rumpel is there, and it basically says, "You want to go, to break up this wedding, you got to go through me." And he does his best to do so. He's fighting Emma. He's fighting uh, Henry. He wants to remain a hero. Who wouldn't? And Regina gets to the church while all this is happening, and she's just staring in. Now, I must say that Lana Parrilla looked absolutely gorgeous, just staring in the Snow White outfit, uh, looking at this, but she's not saying anything. She's not, if anyone is here to who says this marriage should not be take place, now or forever. She doesn't do any of that. Meanwhile, she sees Rumpelstiltskin about to kill his grandson. Granted, he doesn't remember that it is his grandson, but he's still going to kill Henry over here. So she runs back. Emma is knocked out. She can't help. She takes the stabbing that Henry was supposed to get. And here is where we have another thing of my thing of me nitpicking. Now, Henry, I think, could have, given his mother a kiss on the forehead, reversing the end of season one's finale, even though it was the other mother. I think that would have been a better thing than him becoming the author now, because I'm not against Henry becoming the author. I just think it's too soon for a 12, 13, or 14-year-old boy to become the author. Well, maybe not 14, but he's nowhere near 14 on the show, even though he's going to be 15 this year in real life, which brings me to we need another time uh, slip. So Henry basically becomes King Arthur now, or their version of King Arthur. He picks up the pen instead of the sword and the stone. It's just a pen, and he writes it all as it never happened, or not that it never happens, but it's all, but the author's thing was undone. So they're all back in Maine, and here's another nitpick. Now I get that Emma wants to know if Hook is alive. I get it. You throw this Captain Swan down all of our throats, fine. But did she have to act, especially in her parents' loft when she finds him, as if she is a 16 or 17-year-old virgin on prom night? Just ready to jump his bones, rip off all of his clothes, and, celebrate. I'm sorry. Was that necessary? And then we get to the Swan Fire complaints. We see Henry with the apprentice, and Henry wants to use the power just one more time to bring back his dad. And the apprentice says that's not possible because he died in real life and Hook died in the book. But Hook died in Storybrooke, and this is where I had to be which is where last night it had to be explained to me that Hook died, or made more clear to me that Hook died in fiction and not in fact. So even though uh, Balfire's injury and future death, which was stopped when Rumpel absorbed him, happened in the Enchanted Forest, he was still able to die and now not come back because he died in the real world, even though the injury took place in the Enchanted Forest because it happened in real time and not in fiction. Although that really skewers me. I mean, because Hook is it really had to be explained to me, uh, and that how all that worked. And I still say it's screwing over Neil and Henry and all the Swanfire fans for this Captain Swan thing, which I've explained why I am against earlier uh, in this review and other reviews previous. Oh, but we get back. Um, Rumpel is dying, or at least we think he's dying. Uh, and Belle says she always loved him. Then Will was just a fling, which which may leave out the possibility of next year having Anastasia come in and just ripping Belle to shreds, and some fight. Cause come on, you know we want you. We all want Anastasia, the Red Queen or the White Queen or whatever color queen she is, to come back and just uh, you know uh, go 12 rounds with Belle in some type of fight. I'm sure we'll all pay for that. Um, but uh, they go and they absorb um, the darkness from the Dark One, Rumpelstiltskin, who may or may not be dead after all of this. But the dagger there always must be a Dark One, and instead of Regina being it, Emma says, "No, you've come too far for your happiness." She takes it. She then says, finally, to Killian that she loves him and that you did this one before, meaning um, uh, taking the darkness out of me. Uh, Find this Merlin guy that the apprentice mentioned before. We're not sure if he did die or if he didn't die. But they have to find Merlin, who may or may not be Lily's dad because she was conceived when both of her parents were in dragon form. And boy, that wording could have handed better. You could have said conceived on the show. You couldn't have said, it happened in dragon form. You could have said conceived, but you didn't. So we now have to live with this. Any which how, Emma gets sucked up into the darkness. The dagger now says Emma Swan. She is the Dark One. Bring on season 5. By the way, the author is captured, and he says it's because Charming reminds him of all the bosses he's had, which I thought was silly. I mean, if it were the one boss in the beginning, I could understand. But all the bosses he's ever had, oh, and his riches are gone, and his apartment on Central Park, uh, overlooking Central Park is gone. They didn't say Central Park West or Fifth Avenue, so we don't know the exact location or Central Park South. Um, but onward to season 5. What were your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen?